Alrighty folks, in this video we are finally going to actually just take a plane and graph it. So here's our equation: 6x plus 4y minus 3z equals 24. Sorry, I had to take a second to make sure I'm recording because I've had kind of a long day. Okay, so first step is to find the intercepts, because once we find the intercepts, then we're just going to plot them on our axes wherever they are, and then draw the triangle, and that's pretty much all there is to it. Okay, so to find the intercepts, remember, just like how on a two-dimensional graph, to find the x-intercept, you just set the y value equal to 0. Now, you just have to also set the z value equal to 0. If that's the case, then you're going to have 6x equals 24, which tells us that our x-intercept is at 4. Now, I'm going to kind of fast forward this, but check my work with yours, and we should have a y-intercept of 6 and a z-intercept, and a z-intercept of negative 8. Alrighty, so now let's get our axes set up. Alrighty, so I've drawn our axes here, and I really think it's important to label our axes, especially now that we're just starting out and we're not too familiar with them. It's easy to kind of forget which one goes where. So again, the z-axis points straight up there, and it's also going to go downward, so that's why I drew it so far down, because our z-intercept is at negative 8. So I'll plot that down here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And our y-intercept is at 6, 2, 4, 6 here. And our x-axis, or our x-intercept, excuse me, is at 4 as well. Or at 4, sorry. Our y-intercept is at 6, and our x-intercept is at 4. So now we just need to plot these points down like so. And now we can just connect them accordingly. So I'll draw our triangle. And again, the thing that we are drawing here is just a portion of the plane that we will actually see before it leaves the kind of the room that we imagine we are in. So I'm having trouble with my ruler here. Okay, there's that one. So the line that we just drew here, actually, we'll just stop there. This red line right here, again, this connects the z-axis and the y-axis. And so this thing right here is the YZ trace. Now, to actually get the equation of the YZ trace, remember, the YZ trace is just where the plane crosses the YZ plane. Again, our plane is this one, and it crosses the YZ plane through this line. So to find that, well, it intersects the YZ plane, which is where x equals 0. And so if I just change the equation now by substituting 0 in for x, the equation of this line is just 4y minus 3z equals 24. And we'll just follow through. So now if I draw this one, connecting my x and y intercept, like so. I'll do that in blue. Now this is right here. This is the xy trace. The xy trace because, again, it's where our graph, which is, again, this one with the star, is chopping through the xy plane. And so the xy plane, well, that is where z equals 0. And so our equation for the xy trace, again, the xy trace is just a line, is 6x plus 4y equals 24. Now, again, this is just a line in standard form. Last but not least, I'll do this one in green. If we have x and z right here, this line right here is our xz trace. Which is, again, where our plane of interest crosses through the xz plane. And that is where y equals 0. And so our equation of the xz trace would be 6x minus 3z equals 24. Again, these have fancy names, but they're really just equations of lines in different planes. We're used to seeing graphs drawn in the xy plane, and so this one makes the most sense. But it's the same idea here. It's just instead of looking at your labels for the axes being X and Y, they're Y and Z. Or over here, oops, sorry about that, they're X and Z. Alrighty, the last part I just want to do is kind of tidy up the plane. So again, from our perspective, we see this plane, if you imagine, is coming out of the floor. If the XY plane, I'll pull out my yellow highlighter, the XY plane right here, this whole business, that's the floor that you're standing on. So this plane, we see emerging out of the floor right here. It's coming out of the floor and up at you. And then as it goes down into the floor, eventually it tilts down but reaches forward and hits the Z-axis. And so what that means would be that, let me erase this, this whole chunk of the Z-axis right here, we would actually not see. Oops, wrong eraser. We actually would not see any of this. So it's going to be covered up and hidden like so. So I'll just kind of touch that up like so. And I'll kind of just shade it in here with my little pencil here. And that's the plane and how you graph it.